Hey everyone, welcome back. So I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. Obviously it's Sunday now, so as always, we're going to go into Bitcoin, see what's going on in the charts. We're also going to take a look at the miners, see how they compared to Bitcoin this week. And it wasn't good. Most of the miners were down compared to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's down a little bit, but the miners were down even worse. We'll take a look at that. And then we have one quick story on difficulty is on the rise and the Bitcoin network, so we'll take a look at that. And as always, you guys know the drill here. I'm investing in following coins and companies. This is not financial advice. Do your own research for entertainment only. You know the drill. And let's get into Bitcoin chart right now. And actually, we're looking at Stronghold. We're not looking at the right one. We're looking at Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's down to 19,680 right now. Our support line is at 19,500 roughly. We've seen it bounce off of that before. We were a little bit below it here a couple of times, but it might be closer to 19,300, somewhere around there. We're not too far off from it where we kind of bottomed out here a couple of times. So 19,300 to 19,500 is kind of our support line, support range in there, and we really want to see that stay above it. If that doesn't happen, obviously we possibly could be going down to, I'd say maybe 17 something if that happens. We don't have too much here as far as support. I mean, we bounced up with 17,500, so I think that might be our next support if we breach this 19,500 mark here. So something we're going to have to keep an eye on right now. RSI is looking pretty low. It's looking pretty, getting close to being oversold right now. We did obviously go down to 17.5 here. This was back on June 18th. RSI was at 20 or so, and we are at 30 right now. So we still have a ways to go before we get to that point. Other than that, looking at the chart right now, just the way it is, obviously the thing that I am kind of liking here is if we look at the RSI here on July 12th, we were at 34 with the price basically ending at 19,315. RSI is lower now, but price is also higher. So I'm hoping that we don't go that low, but we'll have to see, obviously. That's at least on the long-term outlook. On the 1 hour chart, you can see here we've been obviously bouncing with the oversold territory of 30 RSI, and we've been going above it while the price has been coming down. So short-term is not a good sign, which leads me to think that we're possibly going to be going down more, at least in the short term. Long term, I think we'll be okay, but short term, we'll obviously have a little pain here in the market. If we look at Ethereum as well, Ethereum is at 1,441, so it obviously came down pretty hard too as well. Excuse me. And looking at the daily chart, looks like we do have some support here at this range at 1438 roughly. Good part about that is obviously RSI is much lower than where it was even back here. RSI was much higher, 55. So this could be just like one of those things where, we're just taking a little bit of a breather. We've gone up way in value here in the last, couple of weeks, and it's just the market kind of refreshing and then getting, setting basically new higher lows basically. So that would be a good sign as well. So we'll have to see how this plays out. Yeah, we'll take a look at the story on Bitcoin next. And obviously the increase in hash rate and difficulty is coming up as well, and what that kind of means for the miners. And we'll look at the miners, how they did against Bitcoin for the week. All right, so here's the story. Bitcoin mining difficulty set for 8-month record gains deposits despite BTC price dip. So data supports doozy difficulty jump. So now with hardware and competition returning to the network, fundamental indicators are firmly in up-only modes as August draws to a close. According to data from on-chain monitoring resources BTC.com, this will be the highest upward difficulty adjustment since January this year. So we're looking at possibly a 6.8% increase here next week. We'll see if that plays out actually. It's going to be close to that, I would think. But not only that, but should the 6.8 increase materialize, difficulty will jump to new all-time highs. Excuse me. We may see difficulty jump doozy enough to set a new or close to new all-time high in a few days. Bitcoin mining consultancy firm Block's Bridge Forecast is the latest edition of its regular newsletter, Miner Weekly, released on August 27th, so just this past weekend. They also report that those with older equipment, obviously, for example, were feeling the squeeze thanks to the spot price losses and equivalent drop in the value of bulk subsidies and fees versus cost, such as electricity. So this is obviously a known fact that when Bitcoin hash rate and difficulty goes up, those with older equipment I'd say subpar 40 terahash miners or something like that, or lower than that, are definitely going to be feeling the squeeze right now. And coming up, the ones that are around 50, 60 terahash are also going to be feeling the squeeze here, especially as more miners get installed. So that is something that we want to keep an eye on. Any of those miners that have any of those older equipment. The good thing is the miners that I cover at least don't seem to have too many that have older equipment. So we'll keep an eye on it. Now, let's see here. Long story short is that the bear market is really crashing those with inefficient mining fleets. It continued. Obviously, like I said, it's basically almost like a self-cleansing dynamic of Bitcoin, if you want to look at it that way. As the price drops down and hash rate and difficulty also increases, those older miners are basically no longer profitable, especially for the ones that do it out of their house. So hobby miners, I guess you could say. Institutional miners are going to be okay for a little bit longer because they do have such better margins when it comes to electricity pricing. So they can withstand a little bit longer than some of the mom and pop shops that have their own little farms going. So those are the ones that are going to be possibly turning off the miners the most. All right. Looking down here, hash rate rebounds to target all-time highs. So back to more bullish numbers, and Bitcoin's hash rate looks to be copying difficulty in a fresh push for new record highs. So according to estimated data from the monitoring site Mining Pool Stats, hash rates stood at up to 246 exahashes per second as of August 22nd, inches from all-time high of 251 exahash measured in late April. So depending which source you're using, you can get a little bit different varying data, but it's all pretty close. So if we look at the data here that we have on it right there, total hash rate, we can see here the raw values. We came in at 250, and this was on August 18th. Our previous high was 266. So we're getting close to that. We're starting to come back up on the hash rate. Looking at the difficulty as well, we can see that we have been falling in difficulty for the last 3 months or so, ever since April, looks like. We had May, April, and then June, July, and part of August we've been falling down. And it looks like now in August we are actually starting to pick back up a little bit. So that's telling us that more miners are getting plugged in, obviously. We're also seeing the same thing happen with the hash rate. So it's going to be less revenue for the miners unless they can keep up with installing more miners than the actual increase. So it's kind of one of those things where they're chasing their tails a little bit, trying to stay above, revenue-wise. All right, so that's it for that. And let's take a look at the miners here on the weekly, see how they did compared to Bitcoin. So we'll just do this by the miners going ascending. That's what I wanted to do. All right. So Bitcoin finished out, and I'm using Friday's end of day price for Bitcoin. That was 20,260. Argo was at 45 cents. BitDigital was $1.46. Bitfarms was $1.34. CleanSpark finished out at $4.30. Core at $2.37. DigiHost at 97 cents. DMG at 24 cents. Hive was at $4.33. HUD was at $2.07. Iris at $4.83. Marathon at $11.35. Mawson at 75 cents. Ride at $6.79. Soluna at $3.08. And Sphere 3D at 64 cents. So that's where they ended out the week at. And when we're looking at their 52-week highs and 52-week lows, how far we're off on them, Bitcoin is down 70% from its 52-week high here at the current price. And Argo is down 81%. BitDigital is down 90%. Bitfarms down 85. CleanSpark down 81. Core down 84. DigiHost down 87. DMG down 82. Hive down 84. HUT down 87. Iris down 82. Marathon down 86. Mawson down 95. That's quite a bit. Riot is down 85. Solana is down 82. And Sphere is down 94. As you can see here, most of the miners are in the 80s. Some are in the 90s. But they are all beaten down heavily here, as obviously Bitcoin prices come down. Upside potential, if we were to get back to those previous all-time highs, for Bitcoin, that'd be 239% increase from right now. Argo would be 425. BitDigital would be 896. Bitfarms would be 598. CleanSpark would be 448. Core Scientific would be 532. DigiHost would be 724. DMG would be 467. Hive 546. HUT 8 would be 700. Iris 484, Marathon 635, Mawson 2,200, Riot would be 581, Solana 454, and Sphere 3D would be at 1,771%. So obviously huge gains for pretty much everybody here to go back to their previous all-time highs. That's why I love the mining stocks. They are volatile. They're basically like a leverage bet against Bitcoin, I guess, or leverage bet on Bitcoin. On steroids, you could say. Bitcoin goes down 5%, these guys will go down 12, 15%, 20%. Bitcoin goes up 5%, these guys go up, the same in return, 10, 15% up. So it is a wild ride, not for the faint of heart. And it's obviously a long game here. We want dollar cost averaging, not financial advice, but kind of what I'm doing is dollar cost averaging as best I can on these. Trying to get as low of a price as possible, if that makes sense. All right, so looking at the weekly performance here on these, we can see that Mawson was actually up. We'll go down here. Mawson was up 2.74%. Bitcoin was down 2.96% on the week from last Friday. And then Iris was down 4. Core was down 5. Riot was down 6. BitDigital was down 6. DMG 6. CleanSpark down 7. Soluna down 7. Argo down 7, almost 8. DigiHost down almost 8.5. Sphere 3D was down 9. Bitfarms was down 10, a little bit more than 10.5. Hut 8 was down 10.75, roughly. Marathon 13.8, and Hive was down 18.61. So Hive got clobbered this week. So everybody did worse than Bitcoin, obviously, except for Mawson for the current week. If we look at the 4 weeks here, 4 weeks, there we go. We can see that Iris is actually up 1.9%. Argo is down. Where's Bitcoin? Bitcoin is actually down 13.1%, 13.0%. And Mawson, Sphere 3D, CleanSpark, and BitDigital, along with Argo and Iris, have done better than Bitcoin. And then the following companies have done worse than Bitcoin. Hut, Hive, DMG, Bitfarms, Riot, Core Scientific, Marathon, DigiHost, and Soluna. Soluna is down big, 33% in the last 4 weeks. And let's take a look at the 6 weeks or 8 weeks. Really quick. 8 weeks. Where's Bitcoin? Bitcoin is down here. So Bitcoin's down 6.77% in the 8 weeks. The following companies did better than Bitcoin. So we got CleanSpark, Bitfarms. Right. Am I looking at that right? Yep. CleanSpark, Bitfarms, Argo, DMG, Hive, Riot, Core, Iris, Hut 8, and Marathon has done the best at 33% up. And the worst of the bunch were BitDigital, Sphere 3D, DigiHost, Soluna, and Mawson, down 33.63% on the 8 weeks. And looking at the 12 weeks really quick as well, we can see Bitcoin is down here. So Bitcoin's down 30.34%. And the following companies did worse than that. DigiHost, Soluna, and Mawson. Mawson's down 64%, so that's a big hit. But everybody above that line, where Bitcoin is, has done better. So we got Sphere 3D, Bitfarms, Argo, CleanSpark, DMG, Iris, Core, BitDigital, Hut 8, Hive, Riot, and Marathon. Marathon being up the most here in the 12 weeks. And the trend, I think, is going to continue until Bitcoin starts going back up, I think. These miners down here are eventually going to start showing up here on the 12 weeks that they're going to be doing a little bit better than Bitcoin. But that's going to take a little while, a couple more weeks for that to happen, I think. All right. Now, down here, we're seeing, obviously, a lot more red here the last 2 weeks. We did have pretty good, it looks like 4 weeks, where we were going up quite nicely here on the miners. A lot of them were doing really well. You can see Hive was up 42% 1 week, 11, 14, 11. Hut, same thing, 47, 12 to 30%. You got Iris up nicely, CleanSpark up 29, 16, Bitfarms up 23, 11, 9, 14%. You also had like Riot up 20%, 13%, 2%, 27% on a week. So obviously really good gains there. Marathon was up huge here for a number of weeks here, 54% up. Then they were up 4, 9, 28. They also had a 53% week here back in July, first week of July. So we've had a lot of pretty good run-ups here in the last couple of weeks, I think. Right now we're just having a little breather. Obviously the message from Fed Chair Powell on Friday didn't help in the markets at all. We came down pretty quickly after those comments came out. We do have, obviously, the CPI data is going to be coming out for August and September in like a week, probably 2 weeks or so. I'm guessing that's going to be released. And then after that, the Fed is meeting to decide what they're going to do with interest rates. So we'll see if we get 75 basis points or 50 basis points. And then if we get 50 basis points, I think we'll be doing okay. I think we'll start maybe going back up a little bit. We'll see. Fingers crossed. What else? I think that's it for the miners here. So obviously not a good week for the miners, not a good week for Bitcoin, for the markets in general. We are going to be ending August in this week and starting September as well. So September is typically not a good month for Bitcoin, but we'll see. It'll be an interesting month. We'll get some more updates, obviously, from the miners, see how they're doing for the production in August. That will be interesting as well. So we got a lot more stuff coming up. Couple updates on the spreadsheet here for those of you guys, Patreon members. I wanted to point something out here. This is pretty much it. We call it a day here. Added a couple more of these quarterly reviews. So Core Scientific was added in here today for Q1 and Q2. That information has been added. And there also, what else did I update? Oh, the current PE. I'm calculating that based on the numbers that I have for them. So these are not the most, I don't know if they're the most accurate. They're accurate to me at least. What I'm taking is basically the current market cap of the company, and then I'm using the last 3 quarters of, their revenue, plus whatever's combined here in this possible quarter that we're kind of estimating on what it might be. So we're getting the current quarter, last 3 quarters. We're coming up with the total for that, and we're dividing that by the market cap divided by that total to come up with the current PE as far as where I'm seeing things at. So there's that one. And there was something else that I did also. I'm trying to think. Oh, we're now updating. I updated this a little bit here to now be 50,000, 75,000, 100,000 price targets basically for Bitcoin, and what that could do obviously to the stock prices for each of the companies. Excuse me. So it's just a little bit, we're still obviously going to be using the last 3 quarter numbers because those don't change. Those can't change because those have been already posted. They've already made the money on. The only one that's going to be kind of fluid is going to be this current quarter. And I have them at, it'd be 204 million basically if Bitcoin price was at 50,000. So then that obviously gets all tallied up and you'd get to possibly 514 million. And then we're basing that on 50% net income from gross revenue at a P of 20. We're looking at $14.40, and if we use 75%, you're looking at $21.59, right? So that's kind of added up there. So that's been updated as well, and that is reflecting the current Bitcoin price, I believe. Yes, that is correct. So that's been updated a little bit as well. So that way, kind of gives you guys a little bit of a guidance, possibly, as far as what I'm thinking things might look like, possibly, if Bitcoin starts going to 50, 75, 100,000. But that's just estimated best guess I could come up with for this. There's no real numbers we could go for this because things can obviously be very dynamic here in the current quarter that we're in. That's going to obviously affect the rest of it for the numbers part of it. So that was been updated. What else did I do here? I did something else, I thought. If we look at the settings, I think was there anything in the settings? Oh, the other thing is I'm going to be taking the monthly average price of Bitcoin now. So I'm basically tracking every single day. And then once we get to the end of the month, I'll do an average on it. And then we'll use that actually in the price here instead of using the end of month price. I'm hoping that way we can get a little bit better calculation on the miners as far as, what are they actually making here for the month, possibly get a little bit closer to, what they actually report. I want to be within 2.5% of what they report, and I've been a little bit off here, and I think that's based on using the end of the month Bitcoin price. So that's gotten updated. We're going to do that going forward, and I still have a couple more companies that I have to finish up this part, the quarterly financials on, and those would be, I believe, I got just a couple, I think. Let me see here. Marathon. They got Marathon to do still. Mawson, I already got, I believe. Yep, right. I'm pretty sure I got that one. I got like 2 or 3 that I still have to do. So Luna we got, and then possibly, was it Sphere? Sphere, yeah. So I've got like 2 or 3 to do still. So they'll be coming up. Excuse me. And then what else do we have? Oh, we're still waiting on a couple of the miners to provide their Q2 results, which is Bit Digital, DMG, and Iris. So we're still waiting on those. Once we get all those numbers in, we'll take a deep dive into all the numbers for all the miners and see where they kind of stack up and everything like that. All right. So that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. It's going to be a fun week ahead as well. We'll see what comes of it. I think Iris is supposed to report this week. I think. I could be wrong. If they do, we'll obviously cover it. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys found this useful. And let me know down in the comments below if you disagree or agree with me any of this stuff. Love chatting with you guys there. And as always, the spreadsheet is available to my Patreon members. Thank you to everyone there for their continued support. And that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one.